Well, welcome, everybody, to the Smith and Rowland Show.
Smith and Rowland, rolling.
Yep. What is up, Alan Smith and Jason Barr?
Well, I heard that there's going to be a Super Bowl. Did I hear that right?
Maybe will.
So, yeah.
Maybe will.
If you guys are new here listening to us, make sure you head over to thekingdompropheticsociety.org.
Yes.
Sign up. You can talk to Jeff. Not that you'd want to, but you can talk to Jeff.
I can answer any questions about the Super Bowl.
Yep, he can answer your sports ball questions. If there's going to be any home runs or whatever they do there. And,
that's bad. That's bad. That's bad.
Well, Jeff is really the only one here that partakes in those heathenistic events anyway. So
here's the I did see a clip earlier about the Super Bowl. You know what that really is? The Super Bowl is a toilet bowl that cleans itself.
Really?
It is a Super Bowl.
Well, I can witness with that. I could witness with that.
I can get a witness.
I think that's pretty good. I thought it was good.
I didn't think it really cleaned itself, though. It just
seems
to get worse every year.
A Super Bowl.
Boys, you need to clean the show up now. Let's get on the road. Clean the show up.
Yeah. So make sure you head over to the.
I think it went into the toilet.
It did. Went right into the toilet right there.
So make sure you head over to the kingdompropheticsociety.org.
There you
It's
go.
going to be we got some really interesting stuff to talk about today. So you guys, why don't you just take it away?
Okay. We got a Jesus ad coming up on us here.
During the Super Bowl.
During the Super Bowl. I don't know if Jason can go there and pull the ad up or not, but it is. Karen put it somewhere down in the ad there. But this Jesus ad.
I'm gonna pull up your screen there for people to see.
Okay, pull up my screen. The Jesus ad is I think it's what can you find see if you can find it.
You want to watch the video?
Yeah, watch the video.
Okay.
It's down to, I can pull it down.
Just give me 2 minutes. And
it's all the way at the bottom, I think.
Yeah, I'll find it.
Well, this Jesus ad's causing some trouble, I understand. There's a lot of people upset over the fact that there's a Jesus ad during the
Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And is it what they're having the problems with?
Because it's Jesus.
Because it's Jesus.
It's odd to me that at the Grammys they can dress up like Satan and sing songs of perversion and
yeah,
called unholy. But you mentioned Jesus during the Super Bowl, and everybody throws a fit.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, it's called. It says here, Jesus Christ will be front and center in an advertisement slated to run during Sunday's Super Bowl. It says we're confident that as people clearly understand, read, and learn for themselves about who Jesus is, they'll find wisdom, hope, and peace unlike any other offered. And kind of the slogan on it is, he gets us, and that's the website also.
I've seen a lot of those
he gets us ads?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of them on television where, Jesus gets us. And we was talking before that this is about how inclusive Jesus is. Mm-hmm. And we don't want to lose sight of that.
Right.
Because the Lord Jesus calls all of it. He's not willing that any should perish.
We see there again, it's like the left has stolen kind of the message of the church, if you will, because Jesus is all-inclusive. Yes, I know that sounds like a woke terminology, but Jesus always has come as you are. And, of course, as we said in a revival at Shiloh, come as you are, but just don't leave the same way.
Don't leave the same way. That's right. Let him change you while you're here.
That's right.
And that's the whole purpose behind it. That's what salvation and transformation is all about.
Right.
Salvation is the entrance requirements into the kingdom, and then progressively we are conformed into the image of Christ, which is transformation. A lot of people, I believe this. I believe that revival is actually would be defined as the transformation of a life.
Yes,
that's what revival is.
Of course it is.
And so the Lord is inclusive. He wants to gather any that will come to him.
Right. Well, I think that's even still some of the controversy of the ad, because some people feel as though to pitch Jesus as...
give me just 1 second. We'll watch it.
Okay.
Well, you keep talking.
Okay. To pitch Jesus as inclusive is kind of a woke
it's
concept or philosophy.
That's their philosophy. Yeah.
But there again, I might add that it's the left or the woke mentality is stealing our message of the church and trying to turn it into a woke message, which is not, is definitely not true.
Well, you have people on both sides now that is against this ad.
Yes,
you have well-meaning believers that are against these ads.
Yes,
because
it looks like it's a woke.
It looks like that it's
a woke situation.
Y'all want to watch it?
Yeah, let's watch it.
Let's go for it.
Right, here we go. Don't shoot me if this don't work. So. Yeah, there would be a problem.
Okay.
Hold on a second.
There you go.
I see it, but I don't hear it.
Yep, okay. Give me just a minute.
Okay, we'll give you a minute.
Yeah, we'll give you a minute.
But there it is. It's in like a black and white stills, slides. Mm-hmm. And I think it's a 50-second ad, which costs $20 million.
To reach more than 100 million viewers.
Wow.
So they're expecting 100 million viewers for the Super Bowl.
Yes, evidently. Evidently,
wow.
That's so. And 50 seconds, I guess, will cost you $20 million.
Alan, why don't you just go ahead next Super Bowl and plan to get us a Smith and Rowland ad on the Super Bowl?
Well, I mean, I'm sure that they tried to call our busy phone lines.
The thing is, if you wouldn't be so greedy with your money, we could do this real easily.
I agree. We could.
Have you repented over that lately?
Well, I don't know that we take us a little while to dig up 20 million, but.
You mean it's not out there in the farmland you go?
We might have to dig it up here just
What about all those milk cows? I heard the milk prices is going way high.
Yeah, they'd have to go high to do that one. I'll tell you that. But we also got, and I'm sure Jason will be able to get back to this ad.
Don't be so sure.
Okay. But we've also, Jeff, speaking of that, we have, with this ad, we have you remember Lonnie Frisbee?
Mm-hmm.
They're coming out with a new movie on Lonnie Frisbee. He was a hippie, I guess you could say, back in the Jesus movement, mm-hmm. West Coast. Mm-hmm. And Lonnie Frisbee, he went to Chuck Smith out at Calvary Chapel.
Yeah,
if you remember that.
Yeah.
And he was ministering to all types of that generation hippie movement out on the West Coast, and he was actually giving them the gospel, baptizing them in the ocean. The Lord was doing all kinds of things. Anyway, they've come out with a movie on it. I was looking for the name of it; it escapes me. But they've come out with a movie. They say here that it's a sad story of a hippie preacher, and it says in Lonnie Frisbee here. I'm trying to get his. Lonnie Frisbee was born in 1949, passed away in 1993. He's an American charismatic evangelist, self-described as a seeing prophet. He maintained a hippie appearance, and he was notable as a minister and evangelist in the signs and wonders movements of the 70s and of the 80s. Frisbee was a key figure in the Jesus movement. Eyewitnesses' accounts of his ministry documented in 2007 documentary Frisbee, The Life of and Death of a Hippie Preacher. But now, and he also was the young guy that sparked revival in Chuck Smith's Calvary Chapel Church, in which we know, I think Calvary Chapel finally grew out of that movement, out of that revival, up to over, I think, 1,500 affiliated churches.
Lonnie Frisbee preached about how inclusive Jesus was.
Yes,
that's what the Jesus movement was largely based on. And to say that Jesus gets us is basically a biblically sound statement. The Lord knows all about us. But I'm reflecting, you was reading that about Lonnie Frisbee, and I was reflecting back at when God began to stir over here at the church.
Yes.
One of the reasons that I attribute it to, just in reflecting back.
Yes.
We targeted people that were homeless.
Yes.
That were drug addicts. Mm-hmm. That were prostitutes. Mm-hmm. Strippers. We had just about a Duke's mixture of anything you can imagine from the world.
Well, it gave us a bad name.
It did. But you know, the power of God came at that point.
Yeah.
Because we were reaching out to people that were outcast.
Yes. Yes.
And I do believe this. I believe that in the world today, most people feel that way, as though they are outcast.
Yes.
And far away from any acceptance from any group in the world. And the Lord Jesus offers a kind invitation to grace.
Yes, he does.
To that group of people. And I honestly believe this. Some of the greatest jewels and gems in the kingdom are those that were outcast.
Yes.
Those that were homeless, those that were addicted to some form of drugs or alcohol or something along those lines. We seen the power of God move among that crowd.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that there is a lot to be said about that. But fundamentally, it goes back to that Jesus gets us kind of campaign. I've seen some of them, and honestly, when I seen some of them, I kind of drew up a little bit.
Yeah,
I really did. Seeing some of the He Gets Us commercials, I'd kind of draw it just a little bit. But the truth of the matter is the Lord Jesus calls all of those that are trapped in sin to come to him. And he said he would in no wise cast them out.
Yes.
So I think you're right that the left has attempted, and woke philosophy has attempted, to steal the message of the gospel and make it their own.
That's right. That's right.
And they've painted the church as this organization that is against everything,
right.
not declaring what we're for.
Yes.
And I think that we need to be in the business of declaring what we're for just as much as we declare what we're against.
Yes, because Jesus was for people. You and I are for people.
Absolutely.
Smith and Rowland shows for people, anybody.
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 Right. Yeah.
But our hope is that we all come to Christ.
Yeah.
And that through a transformation of a true encounter with him, he changes our hearts. He changes who we are.
That's exactly right.
And so, and we can even mention Lonnie Frisbee, and we've got some, Jeff, of our friends on the right that would be against us for saying anything about Lonnie Frisbee, because Lonnie Frisbee, he was before pre-born again a homosexual.
Yeah.
And then God set him free, but then he also said that he battled with that.
Yeah,
and his message was that there's some sin in your life you just have to continually battle. And he was against the homosexual lifestyle.
That's exactly right.
But there's some that we know that if you're on the left, they would say, well, Lonnie wasn't inclusive enough. You should let everybody stay in their sin. And we have some friends on the other side of the spectrum and think we shouldn't even mention Lonnie because he's too liberal.
That's exactly right.
Well,
we was talking to a gentleman yesterday, and I made the statement to him, and he's here today. But I made the statement to him that I am not Baptist enough for the Baptist crowd, and yet I'm too Baptist for everybody that's not Baptist. So right. I'm kind of hung out there in no man's land. But you know what? That's a good place to be.
Yeah,
that's a good place to be. And same thing with Lonnie Frisbee. He was not accepted by the religious spirit, and he ought to thank God for that. I mean, and I'm sure he did. He wasn't accepted by the religious spirit, but he was accepted by Christ.
Yes.
And to say you have a struggle with any sin is an accurate statement for everybody. We all struggle with something. And people deem things differently in their mind, but a struggle with sin doesn't mean that you can't take a stand against that sin.
That's right.
And know what that sin is and know what the truth is about it. And I think God can set us free and deliver us. And I think that there are times when God says, you know what, my grace is sufficient.
That's right.
And I'm going to mature you, and I'm going